What is up, volleyballers? Today we are talking about the top 15 Division 1 poll that came out on January 23rd. We're going to look at how teams have moved around in the rankings, and then we're going to take a look at the February upcoming schedule just briefly for the top 8 teams. So, for the top 5 teams, and I'll go ahead and put the image up. For the top 5 teams, we haven't seen any movement. Hawaii still number 1, UCLA still number 2, Long Beach, Penn State, and then Pepperdine at number 5. But then number 6, UC Irvine they were 8 coming into the season. And their big win, right now they're 6-0, and their biggest win was over number 10 USC, Southern California. And that was a great match. They've got a really strong offensive line, some tall attackers, tall pin attackers, and they're looking really strong. So actually, a lot of teams are looking very strong. I'm surprised UC Irvine's still 6th. I think they're going to be contending for a Final Four spot. Then our next big movement on the year has been UC Santa Barbara, which started the year in 7th and now is 14th. They are 1-6, and they've even lost a match to Lincoln Memorial. They've lost a few tough matches to ranked teams, but they're just starting out terribly, and they may fall out of the rankings if they lose any more, because they've got the worst record by far on this top 15 list. Number 7, Stanford, is up 2 from the beginning of the year. They were number 9. They've won 2 matches to UC Santa Barbara, which that's 2 of the Santa Barbara losses. Ball State has dropped back to number 8. They're 2-2, and the 2 losses that they had were expected losses to Hawaii Volleyball and number 1. So Ball State may recover from this. They're a good team. They've got a lot of offensive options. I've reviewed the Hawaii Ball State match. If you want to look at my earlier videos, there's a lot of informative videos, and then there's some highlight videos. So check them out. And I'd also like to point out BYU at number 12. They are 4-0 on the season, and then Grand Canyon University's moved up 2 from 11 to 9, and so they're looking good. We've got a ton of undefeated teams, and many of them are going to be playing each other coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we're going to have half as many undefeated teams, probably even fewer, by the end of February. So looking forward into February's matches, Hawaii really only has one challenging matchup. They're playing Stanford on February 10th and 11th at Stanford. Number 2, UCLA, who is 6-0 right now. They're coming east to play George Mason on the 31st of January. But then heading back into their February match. So anyone on the East Coast, if you want to see a really good team, that's your shot. They're up in Fairfax, Virginia, just south of Washington, D.C., and that'll be a fun match. I may go to that one, the George Mason UCLA match. Then we've got one of the hardest schedules I've ever seen. UCLA plays Penn State on the 4th. They're ranked 4th. Then number 3rd ranked Long Beach on the 9th, and then again on the 10th. Then they play 4-0 BYU twice on the 17th and 18th, and then they play UC Irvine, who's now ranked 6th, on the 24th and 26th. 8 or so ranked teams, 7 ranked teams played in February. It's going to be a very intense season, and I looked forward into March. March isn't that much easier. The UCLA has the hardest schedule of any team in Division I volleyball. Their RPI is going to be very strong this year. Moving on to Long Beach. Long Beach plays Penn State in actually tonight on the 25th of January. And Long Beach State will then play UCLA on the 9th and 10th, like I just discussed. And those are their tough matches for February. Penn State with their number 4 spot, they've earned their spot at number 4 with wins over number 13 Ohio State. Then they beat Pepperdine, number 5, clearly earning their 4th ranked spot. And then they've also beaten Stanford this year at number 8 or 7. So pretty impressive start to the year for Penn State. They've got some good matches, and I'm excited for the UCLA match coming up on, I believe, the 4th. They play USC on the 3rd and then UCLA on the 4th of February. So very interesting start to the February. And like I said, Long Beach, they play tonight. So very tough teams, ranked teams. Penn State has found a good way of being on the East Coast, but still playing a lot of West Coast teams where all the higher ranked teams are. So moving on to number 5, Pepperdine will play UC Santa Barbara, possibly knocking them out of the top rankings. They play them on the 1st and the 3rd of February. Pepperdine will play UC Irvine on the 8th and 10th, and Stanford on the 17th and 18th. Grand Canyon on the 24th and 22nd. 22nd and 24th. We'll just move on to UC Irvine, number 6. They're 6-0 with wins over Lewis and USC. They'll play BYU twice. UC Irvine does the same thing Pepperdine does, where they play every team twice in a row. So they'll play BYU twice, Grand Canyon twice on the 3rd and 4th. They'll play Pepperdine twice on the 8th and 10th, and then UCLA twice on the 24th and 26th. Stanford has had some big, we're moving on to Stanford, number 7, has had big wins over UC Santa Barbara and Lewis, knocking Santa Barbara to the bottom of the rankings. And they recently lost to Penn State. We just talked about that. Big matches coming up. They've got Hawaii on the 10th and 11th. That's huge. Like I said, go to that Stanford-Hawaii match. That's going to be a blast. Then they're playing at Stanford again against Pepperdine on the 17th and 18th, and then at USC on the 24th and 26th. So that's the Stanford-Hawaii match is going to be really interesting. I think Stanford-Pepperdine is going to be a very close one. Ball State, like I said, 2-2 after losing to Hawaii twice. They've got Lewis, 15th ranked, and Loyola coming up. And that's all that we're going to cover for the top-ranked teams. The schedule, you guys can all look up the schedule. This is just to keep you guys updated on where we are in the rankings, what's coming up in the season, and I'm just going to keep it short. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one, volleyballers. Peace.